Okay, so we're going to go through 4 examples here of identifying features of a graph. So these key features are going to be whether it's a minimum or a maximum, the axis of symmetry, and the roots. So minimum and maximum, if it's a maximum, then it's going to have a highest point. And if it's a minimum, then it's going to have a lowest point. So we have it here telling us it's going to be a maximum or a minimum based on the question. So like if we have number 1 right here, we have a maximum point. We are looking at this highest point right here. And so that highest point, I kind of covered it up, is going to be at 4. So our maximum point is going to be that point 0, 4. The next thing that we're going to have is going to be the axis of symmetry. Now, the axis of symmetry, this right here, we've already looked at that earlier this unit. It's going to always start with x is equal to something. So for all of these here, I can just write axis of symmetry, x is equal to. And again, that's like if I was to draw a line to split my parabola down the middle, that would be right here. And that's going to be where x is equal to 0 at the origin. So my axis of symmetry is going to be x is equal to 0. The last thing we're going to figure out is going to be the roots. Another word for roots is zeros, but we can also call these our x-intercepts. So our x-intercepts is where it crosses our x-axis. That's going to be at this point right here and this point right here. Again, I kind of covered those up. So here and here. So I have 2 roots in this case. One is going to be at -2, 0. And the second one is going to be at +2, 0. So now let's look at the second question below. Same idea here. This time we have a minimum because we have a lowest point, which is going to be right here. And we can say that's going to be at the coordinate -2, 3 this time. And then we're going to go ahead and draw a line down the middle for our axis of symmetry. And we see that is at -2. And again, axis of symmetry is always going to start with x is equal to. And then after that, we'll put -2. Now this one is a little bit different than the previous one because as we see, our parabola does not actually cross our x-axis. So this time, we are going to have no roots here. So I can just go ahead and write none. Okay, so the next one, we have a minimum point this time. Again, we're looking at the lowest point. So it's going to be 1, -1. And then I go ahead and I draw my line down the middle. And that's going to be at a +1. So again, always start with x is equal to. And then we have a +1. And then we circle the 2 places where it crosses our x-axis. Right here at the origin, 0, 0 for our first one. And then right here at 2. So our second root will be 2, 0. Now, one thing you may have picked up on, as well as what we can recall from a previous lesson, is that our axis of symmetry, being x is equal to 1, is always going to be equal to the x value of my minimum. We see that applies to number 3 right here, same as number 1, and then same as number 2. So that's a good way to go ahead and check to make sure everything lines up there. Okay, last one here, we have a maximum point, and we can see that looks like it's about at -2, so -2, 0. And then, like we just talked about, it's going to be the same thing as the x value of our maximum point, my axis of symmetry. So this is going to be x is equal to -2. I can also draw my line down to cut it in half to verify this. That's not the best line, so let me redraw that. So right there again, it cuts it in half at -2. And in this time, my parabola is only touching my x-axis at one point, and that's going to be the same point as my maximum, which is okay. So instead of having 2 roots or no roots, we're going to have just 1 root this time, and it's going to be at -2, 0.